the HOA battle, and the farmhouse comeback. You know it's going to be a strange day when a woman with a sharp bob haircut storms onto your property, screaming, "That's my barn," like she's staking a claim in some Wild West showdown. It's barely dawn, the air's crisp with that rural chill, and here I am standing on my own land watching Karen. Yes, her name's Karen, wave her arms while two bewildered cops try to figure out why she dialed 911 over a padlock. What she doesn't know is that I spent 2 decades with the DEA, mostly undercover, and her darling nephew, Mike, isn't just some teenage troublemaker. He's on a list we keep in a locked drawer, the kind that doesn't end with a slap on the wrist. So yeah, I decided it was time to play chess, not checkers, with this suburban tyrant. It sounds insane, I get that, because it is. But welcome to life in rural HOA country, where mailbox height matters more than human decency, and God help you if your grass isn't edged to perfection. I moved here for peace after 20 years dodging bullets and living in the shadows for the DEA. I wanted trees, a couple of dogs, quiet mornings, and a place where no one tried to shoot me before my coffee brewed. This house was perfect, technically outside the HOA boundary by a few feet. Close enough to hear their wine-soaked meetings, where they passive-aggressively nitpick trash cans, but far enough that I don't legally have to care. The property came with a barn, a big, fire engine red beauty with real character. Built by the last owner, a Civil War reenactor who probably wasn't all there, but knew how to make something solid. I keep tools in there, gardening gear, sometimes a rescue dog or toots, mine, fenced, locked, and entirely within my rights. But to Karen, it's a personal insult. A middle finger to her beige vinyl siding and manicured lawns. It started smelling note on my door. Friendly reminder. Neutral tones are preferred in our community. Please consider repainting. I tossed it in the trash. Next week, HOA flyers showed up in my mailbox, illegal, by the way, since I'm not part of their little club. I told her, nice as I could, to stop soliciting me. I wasn't interested in her suburban dictatorship. That's when she went from mildly annoying to full-on unhinged. I should have seen it coming. The bob, the clipboard, the jog past my place that was just slow walks with her phone camera zoomed in. One day, I caught her measuring my fence while pretending to stretch. I didn't say a word. I'm not the type to snap easy. But then, one morning, I found the barn door wide open. I lock it every night. Always have. Tools were shifted, a box of nails spilled across the floor. Someone had been inside. The lock wasn't broken, just opened. I knew it wasn't a fluke, so I set up cameras. Nothing fancy, just motion sensor trail cams. The kind you'd use for raccoons. Except, I wasn't tracking wildlife. Next evening, the alert pinged. I checked the feed. 2 teenage boys. One of them was Mike, Karen's nephew, poking around my barn like it's their personal clubhouse. They didn't steal anything, just smoked something that sure as hell wasn't tobacco, and left a mess. I could have called the cops right then, but I don't waste opportunities. I upgraded the lock, big commercial grade, heavy duty. Moved anything valuable out, and kept the cameras rolling. Everything recorded, filed, time-stamped. Then I waited. Sure enough, the next morning, Karen came charging down my gravel driveway, like she was the sheriff of suburbia. She's yelling about how the kids couldn't get in last night, how they were scared, how I shouldn't have locked the barn without notifying the neighborhood. I looked her square in the eye and said, "It's my barn, my land. Unless Mike's got a key to federal property, which he doesn't, has got no business inside." That's when she lost it. Pulled out her phone and dialed 911 right there, claiming I was illegally detaining a community resource. The operator must have been baffled, and the cops who rolled up 10 minutes later looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. I stayed calm, showed them the deed, the footage, my HOA exemption. They blinked at her like she dragged them into a reality TV meltdown. One pulled me aside and asked quietly, "What's your background again?" "Federal," I said, flashing the corner of my old badge. "Retired-ish." They nodded, left with barely a warning. Karen was red-faced, sputtering about lawsuits, but it didn't matter. She had no idea her nephew had just lit a fuse. See, I ran Mike's name, harmless little check, old habit, and found gold. Not only was he in our system for petty possession, he was a known associate of a mid-level dealer in the next county, a guy still active, still watched. Suddenly, my barn wasn't just a neighborly spat. It was a dot on the DEA's map. I wasn't just some guy with a fence anymore. I was a link in a chain, a former agent with eyes on a target. Karen, bless her beige-loving heart, had no clue she'd handed the feds a gift-wrapped lead. But I couldn't move too fast. Had to be smart. Let her escalate. Let her think she was winning. And oh, she did. Over the next week, she filed a zoning complaint with the county, mailed me an unsigned letter threatening legal action, and my personal favorite, left a voicemail pretending to be from code enforcement. Her voice, low and awkward, like a bad improv skit. I saved it, sent it to a buddy at the county clerk's office. 6 minutes later, they confirmed no complaint existed, and they were real curious about who was impersonating an official. Then it got better. That night, the motion alert pinged again. I checked the feed. Not Mike this time. It was Karen, alone in my barn, holding something she shouldn't have. My stomach dropped not from fear, but from the sheer stupidity of it. I zoomed in a small metal box glinting in the dim light. She wasn't just trespassing. She was tampering, checking for cameras, moving like she knew what she was doing. This wasn't HOA nonsense anymore. This was something else. I let the footage roll, saved every frame. She fiddled with the box, placed it back near some old equipment, then slipped out, closing the door like she'd won. She thought she was slick. I couldn't wait to prove her wrong. I took it straight to the sheriff's office. Didn't need much explaining. They knew me, knew I wasn't some paranoid crank. I handed over the footage on a thumb drive. The deputy smirked. Another Karen story, huh, Tom? I grinned. Better than that. I gave him the rundown, and his face sharpened, focused, ready. They ran the footage, and it clicked. That box wasn't random. It tied to an ongoing meth ring investigation. The kind of thing that doesn't just sit around on a farm unless someone's dirty. Karen had crossed a line she couldn't uncross, and I had her dead to rights. She didn't stop, though. A few days later, my buddy at the sheriff's office called. Karen's filed a formal complaint, claiming I'm a danger to the community, even accusing me of dealing drugs. I nearly choked on my coffee. Meth guy who spent decades busting dealers? She was rallying neighbors, going door to door with rumors, trying to get me evicted. Her paperwork was a mess of lies and contradictions, but she didn't know who she was up against. I'd survived worse than her clipboard crusades. I gathered everything: footage, files, that fake voicemail, and waited for my moment. Then the sheriff called again. Sit down for this one, Tom. Mike's been arrested. Bigger fish than we thought. That was the click. Karen wasn't just a pest. She'd stumbled into a federal storm. Just before dawn, I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as unmarked SUVs rolled in. No sirens, no flashbangs. Just quiet, deadly precision. 6 DEA agents spilled out. Shadows moving fast. One team hit the back, 2 took the front, the rest fanned out. They knocked twice, then burst in. I heard yelling, scrambling. Something heavy hit the floor. Karen's voice cut through, shrill and wild, probably blaming me. Within minutes, Mike was cuffed on the porch shirtless, mouth flapping off until felony distribution shut him up. Then his older brother came out. Tall, tattooed, dead-eyed, real prize. And the bags. Black duffel Chevy. Pulled from the attic, garage, crawl space. Karen stood there, robe flapping, mouth agape, as her perfect little world burned down. They didn't arrest her at least, not yet, but detained her for questioning. She denied everything, blamed the boys, blamed me, blamed the wind. Didn't matter. Her name was on the mortgage. Her house was a felony hub. The HOA turned on her fast. Emergency meeting called. Not to defend her, but to boot her out. Neighbors who'd kissed her ring now whispered about background checks and instability. Her suburban empire crumbled like dry toast. She tried a last-ditch civil suit against me. Emotional distress, harassment, conspiracy. I showed up with a binder, videos, photos, her forged letter. The judge sighed, dismissed it in 10 minutes, fined her for wasting the court's time. She glared at me in the courtroom, but it was hollow. No power left. Her house went dark after that. Legal bills piled up. HOA fines hit for unpaid dues. Then, foreclosure. I bought it at auction cash, no mortgage. I turned it into a recovery home for nonviolent drug offenders. The irony wasn't lost on Meher Kitchen, her living room now helping the people she despised. I thought that'd be the end, but Karen's not the quitting type. One Sunday, she rolled up in her beat-up SUV, marched across the lawn, and snapped at a tenant. Do you know what this place used to be? He grinned. Yeah, some suburban warlord's castle. Now it's rehab. Want a tour? She stormed off, muttering about lawsuits. Then came the flyer's pink paper, her signature, pushing a community integrity alliance to restore order. I threw a barbecue instead. Banner over the barn. Not under your authority. Half the neighborhood showed up. Even the sheriff grabbed a burger. Karen watched from across the street, a ghost in her own story. Her alliance fizzled. Nobody joined. Months later, she sent a photo of my barn. No note. Just a creepy nudge. I taped it to the fridge, next to the auction receipt. She was done not because I crushed her, but because she couldn't stop digging her own grave. The barn's still red brighter now, with a fresh coat and a solar light. The recovery home's the cleanest spot on the block, flowers, trimmed bushes, the works. A new HOA popped up 2 neighborhoods over. And there's Karen, chair of aesthetic compliance. I almost pity them. Almost.